Link engaged.
Visit us at teamspeak.com.
Welcome back to game number 2, and now here we are on the ZeNEXHack Caverns. We have isTime, again wearing that VVV mask in the top right as the blue Protoss, his opponent in the bottom left, ZeNEXHack. And you know, if I'm Time and I felt comfortable on Metalopolis, now in game 2, down 0-1, I'm feeling a little bit nervous on ZeNEXHack Caverns. Yes, the patches come out, and your barracks are 5 seconds slower, and my Immortals have 1 more range, but 1-1-1 on a 2-player map with a quick rush distance like this puts fear in my Protoss heart.
Absolutely. This is one of the shortest natural rush distances in the entire map pool, so Time is going to have to play extremely safe, and of course he has a really difficult decision to make. A lot of players think that, you know, going for that 1-gate expand is the best way to deal with 1-1-1, but of course that can be risky against something like a 2 or 3 racks from your opponent, so he's going to have very good scouting, and I feel like going for some type of build like 1-gate expand into 3-gate robo very quickly with that early robo before the extra 2 gateways to get that observer out, scout what his opponent's doing might be the best choice here. But yet again, he just has to play absolutely flawlessly. This is a difficult map to play on. Of course, on the flip side, Hack, you know, if he tries to take an early expansion, doesn't go for the 1-1-1, and tries to play standard, then, you know, he is going to need quite a few bunkers. We've seen things like 3-gate sentry pressure expands do an unbelievable amount of damage to Terrans that only get maybe 2 or 3 bunkers at the natural.
Yeah, even I like the 3 Immortal rush these days. Just getting your expansion out, getting the Robo, chronoing out 3 Immortals and going, and you can just break a Terran who's not prepared that way. So the advantage that Hack has here on ZeNEXHack Caverns, even if he doesn't choose to go for the 1-1-1, it's just something that Time has to think about, whereas, you know, Hack doesn't have to do anything. It's just that ever-present fear.
Yeah, you can play just a little bit more standard on that side. You kind of you know, get to choose what you're going for. I feel like in a matchup like this, in this map, the Terran is the one that's making the decisions and kind of directing the game, whereas Time is going to have to actually you know, just be a little bit more reactive, since, you know, plays like 2 racks expand or 1-1-1 or gasless expand require completely different responses. Now we are going to see a 2 racks here from Hack. I do expect to see the reactor first, so we can get that high marine count, and this is pretty much just the most standard TVP build you could possibly go for. It just allows you to put pressure on your Protoss opponent. Perhaps if they go for something like a 1-gate expand, you might actually be able to force a cancel on the Nexus or kill it off, but you can also take a relatively early command center yourself.
You know what's interesting to me is Time hasn't even bothered to scout, so he's focusing on his economy, hasn't left his main base at all, going to get that Zealot out, so he has no idea what Hack is up to. There could be anything beyond that cloud of darkness. Meanwhile, we can see he's finished that Cybernetic Sword, going to begin chronoing out the Stalker. He started Warp Gate as well. Hack hasn't taken any hits on that SCV via the Zealot just yet. Going to complete his wall in, so he's not vulnerable to any sort of early pressure here. And as you mentioned, going for the Zadok build, he's bringing it back. 1 reactor, 1 tech lab to put on some early pressure.
Yeah, and we do see that Time, you know, with that first Chrono Stalker, was probably going to go move out, get some scouting information up the ramp. He actually only had 1 probe on his assimilator, but he actually did switch that up to 3. I'm not sure if that was on purpose for that point in time in the build, because he didn't need quite as much gas, or if maybe it was just a slight mistake. But of course, Hack is going to move forward with all this pressure, and Time, you know, on a map like this, I feel like going for, obviously, something like 3-gate expand is not going to be as effective, because you just have such wide choke points to defend. You're not going to be able to rely on force fields quite as much. So instead, he is going to add on the robotic facility, and whoa, a Forge from Time. I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen a Protoss do this build PvT. Perhaps he's just gonna rush out some Immortals and maybe use cannons to defend, or maybe just get it for +1 weapons. Can you shed any light on this, Chill?
Yeah, I have no idea what he's doing with that Forge, because the early robotics makes sense to me if he wants to do the 3 Immortal before expand, chrono those out and go for some sort of timing, or even if he wants to be safe, get the Observer out and expand. This seems like he's going in 2 different directions here, but let's see where he takes it. Yeah, he's getting the ground armor, which doesn't have a lot of synergy with the robotics, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, it doesn't, because of course that Immortal is really relying on its shields, because it does take only 10 damage max with that hardened shield upgrade, so you really don't want your Immortal to be fighting when it's down in the health anyways. And the same thing goes for Stalkers and Sentries. Zealots, yeah, the armor is fantastic because they have the 100 health, only 50 shields, and of course against Marines they're attacking so quickly, but it does seem a little bit strange. I would have expected him to go for that weapons upgrade. I don't know, we'll have to see where the wisdom of this build is going to come in, because Hack is going to move forward for this aggression. He's going to see no expansion. He moves up the SCV to check what's up there. He sees 2 sentries, but he's going to go for it anyways. That might be the wrong move. He gets 3 Marines isolated up the ramp. They are going to be taken out from time, but of course that is a waste of that energy. Almost loses the sentry, but keeps alive with 9
nice
HP, and he keeps the
control.
other one alive with 5 HP. Great job, but oh my god, a missed force field caused him to actually burn 2 there just to block that ramp. Now he's not going to have any more left.
You know, I'm surprised Hack committed to that. He looked up, and he saw what he was going up against, continuing to go. Now the Immortal is out, going to be able to take out the Marauders so quickly. There's no force fields left. Stalker's able to focus down Marines fairly quickly, and the Immortal is down. So that's a nice win for Hack, but he's going to donate the rest of these units. And Time's not in a bad spot here. He's at 44 supply after the rest of these Terran units get cleaned up. It's going to be 36 supply looking in the main base of Hack. Yeah, he has his command center on the way, but he's lost map control. And Time's got to be feeling in a fairly decent place here. Going to bring this probe out, get his Nexus down, and he's going to get that +1 armor out fairly quickly.
Yeah, Time definitely going to be feeling pretty confident because in this situation, Hack's going to have to try to take his natural expansion, and he's going to have to be very, very worried about the possibility of some type of heavy Warp Gate plus Immortal aggression coming out from Time. If he goes for something like 4 Gate plus Immortal off of 2 base with a really early timing, if Hack doesn't have enough units set up or enough bunkers, he's in a lot of trouble. And since he did donate so much of his army there, he's just not going to have as much ready to defend. I'll have to see if he'll actually be able to properly do that. The Observer now getting in from Time. We're not going to see the scan just yet from Hack. He actually does not have enough energy right now, but I'm sure he notices that, and he's going to go ahead and set up a bunker. Wow, interesting placement all the way up at the front. You usually see players place it a little bit farther back so that the Protoss units have to walk through that choke to attack it.
I'm really surprised about that because he knows the robotics is out and he knows Time has a focus on Immortals, so that's going to be fairly easy to snipe. SCV is going to have to run quite a distance to get over to repair that, so that'll go down almost instantly if Time chooses to attack. I'm also surprised he's so confident to move out because, you know, he really doesn't have a lot of scouting on the map. He scouted the side avenues, but he's got nothing in the main base, whereas Time has that Observer over Hack's natural, able to see exactly what's going on. If Time had chosen to just go all in and drop 2 more Warp Gates and start chronoing out those Immortals, he could probably break this natural expansion fairly cleanly.
Yeah, that's a great point. He does have to be very careful. He did send 1 Marine ahead. He's holding both ZeNEXHack towers right now. We're going to see Time move out with that Observer again to go get some more scouting information. And interestingly enough, he dropped the Robotics Bay, so he's actually going to be rushing Colossi here. This is an interesting choice. I would have expected, given the amount of units he killed early on, to just keep making those Immortals, make a ton of Warpgate units.
Right.
Because, I mean, I'm looking at Hack right now. I'm looking at his army, and I can't see how he would hold off that type of aggression. But instead, we're going to see very fast Colossi from Time. And it's not necessarily a bad move. They will be able to, of course, range those bunkers if they get that thermal lance upgrade pretty quickly, but he has double gas at the natural, so he's gonna be able to make quite a few Colossi, get that range upgrade, and perhaps continue to make a lot of Warpgate units as well.
And Hack already has the reactor out on his starport, so he's going to be able to get Vikings out so quickly. And I keep going back to this Forge Orb, because yeah, upgrades are nice, but the time he built it, like, it seemed to be a key component of his build, and it's just the one thing that doesn't line up for me. Like, yeah. You know, typically when you get this quick armor upgrade, you want to be going, you know, Zealot, Stalker, you want to be going with the Twilight Council upgrades. You want to be blinking around, harassing, and getting charge out because your Zealots are going to be able to soak up so much damage. But when you're going to Warp Gate and going straight for the Colossus, I don't know, man.
It doesn't really make that much sense, unfortunately. When you really think about it, you know, you had to spend 150 for the Forge, another 100 for armor, now another 100 for ground weapons level 1. And for all those upgrades, he's not getting that much benefit when you really think about how much these units are changing. So, you know, it will give an advantage coming in the late game if you can continue those upgrades. Right. He does have a Twilight Council on the way, but it is actually slightly late. I would have liked to have seen him, if he's going to make it basically the center point of his strategy, I would have liked to have seen him get that time just a little bit early, maybe like 10 seconds early, so he could have gotten those upgrades continuing immediately. But we might actually see a big drop here from Hack. He's sending 2 medevacs into the main base, and without Blink, it's going to be a little bit difficult for Time to deal with his entire armies at the natural. Yeah,
and Time has a lot of resources invested into these Colossi. He's only got 2 Warp Gates, trying to split up his units to deal with this drop. Drop moving forward, trying to focus down one of the Colossi. Goes down immediately, second one getting focused down, but it looks like he's going to be okay. Meanwhile, at the natural, that is getting cleaned up very nicely. The Nexus got focused, but not going to be able to get taken out. And whoa! Big reversal of fortunes here as Time completely cleans up both sides with minimal losses.
That was a huge mistake there from Hack. He did not micro the natural at all. He had all of his units there target firing the Nexus. Look how low the Nexus got. It's at like a quarter HP when you consider the shields as well. So if he had actually just kind of run around, he had stim, if he had just run around while shooting, done that kiting, those Zealots do not have charge, so Time wouldn't have been able to do as much damage. Only the Immortals would have been attacking. Instead, he sat there just kind of AFK with those units target firing the Nexus, and all those Zealots were able to do an unbelievable amount of damage, especially with that +1 upgrade that they have. So, I mean, I feel like Hack could have taken out the natural there with a little bit of better micro. It's unfortunate, but you know what? He might just go for a bit of a counterattack. He has some Marauders in the Tasteless Secret Hallway. Might send those in to try to snipe that Nexus while it's still low on HP. Meanwhile, the third is already on the way from Time at the gold. This could be a bit of a risky move, but since he does have that Colossus count ever increasing here, he should be able to defend pretty well, and he does have charge a third of the way done. And look at that. Ground Army level 2, already about 3/4 of the way done. He's going to have a great upgrade advantage compared to Hack, who's only at 1-0 upgrades right now.
Hack is playing really nicely. He's moving forward, baiting Time back. Gonna lose 2 medevacs, that is a big deal. But there's a drop going on in the main base. Meanwhile, the Marauders going to the natural. They're gonna stim and try to focus down that Nexus. And Time, you can tell he's under pressure, trying to pull all his units back. He's trying to save it. No, that's absolutely gonna go down. And meanwhile, in the main base, he's gonna focus down the Nexus with those units as well. No, he's not focusing down the Nexus. He's going for the Forge. And that's gonna go down.
10 seconds from completion. If Time had actually thrown just a couple more Chrono Boosts, he might have actually been able to keep that, or finish the upgrade there. He actually did have Chrono Boost energy left over, so it's unfortunate that he just wasn't quite on top of his mechanics there. Otherwise, could have had 1-2 upgrades. Now, that's an absolutely fantastic blow for Hack, as we saw in the last game how much of a difference that made.
But the gold is up, so Time has secured that gold. He's down a base, but he's made it back by securing that gold. He's got to get his units together, and he's got to focus on denying all this harassment that's going on by Hack. That's been the point where he's losing. I mean, Hack's multi-pronged harassment has just been unbelievable, especially in Game 1. Was a little off earlier in this game, but he's bringing it back now. I'd like to see Time get Blink and get a few Stalkers out to focus on dealing with that. But look at Hack's army that he's amassing, not going for the harassment style here. He said he doesn't need the medevacs anymore, going fully Vikings, and there are 1, 2, 3, 7 of them on the field.
Wow, that's going to be really difficult for him to actually engage, though, because, of course, without those Colossi, it's going to be just so difficult against these Charge Zealots. You usually rely on those medevacs to heal yourself up while you're kiting away. So I'm not sure how well this is going to work out for him. We do see Blink now on the way, but I feel like Haka is just a little bit too far in the dark right now. He still has not scouted that third of the gold. He has no clue right now that Time is...
Really?
I mean, I think he thinks he's really far ahead because he sniped the natural. He thinks, okay, I just got my opponent down to 1 base. I'm so far ahead. That's why his third is so late. Hack's third, rather. So I feel like he really needs to be just a little bit more active with that scouting. He has a Marine at the lower ground third, but of course he still has not checked that gold.
Wow, you're absolutely right. He's got that Marine, so he feels like no third. Yeah, that's completely accurate. But he's made so many units, and he's got so many ghosts out that if Time doesn't have all his units at the gold, he may lose that. Scan going out the natural, not going to see too many units there. He's only going to see a single Colossus. But look in the main base of Time. So many units sitting back there as he's fearful of the drops. He's got to get them back as Hack is moving forward. If he engages with half his army isolated, that's going to be a huge problem, and we don't need to worry about that because Time is now pulling that army to reunite them at the gold.
Yeah, it will be a little bit easier. What I would love to see from Time right now is just a little bit better map control. We can see in his base, he doesn't have any pylons near the edge of his base. He doesn't have one over at like the 3 o'clock base. That's usually what Protoss players will do on this map to actually watch for those drops coming in. Now, of course, he does have the Observer that's been pretty close to Hack's army the entire time. That's why he moved his army down there. He saw, okay, I see this moving forward again, but the drop is coming into the main, and now his units are out of position since they're all at the gold. It looks like Time realizes he might lose some stuff in the main and instead just going to go for the counterattack. He's sending his whole army, and this is great positioning for Time. Hack is in a little bit of a choke point, but the EMPs go off on the entire army. I do not know how this is going to work out for Time.
Oh, it is absolutely not going to work out. The Zealots charging forward, and Hack going to be able to do a little bit of damage and fall back, but he doesn't have a planetary, actually. I thought he would be able to fall back to that planetary. Meanwhile, in the main, not being able to control those units, he's just taking out the assimilator. Time is moving forward, trying to finish it at the Vikings landing. Those are going to go down almost immediately, but there are no more Colossi. The Immortals are going to be the main focus point, and Time calls GG. That big attack at the Western ZeNEXHack tower, that was a big mistake for Time. He sent all his units in piecewise. His Colossi were moving in 1 by 1. If he grouped up and attacked together, despite eating those EMPs, I think he would have done much better. But when there's a drop in your main base and you've lost your natural nexus before, you can't always think rationally. You think, I got to attack now. And I think that was that was what we saw there out of Time.
Yeah, it was. We saw a really fantastic micro from Hack. Despite the low medevac count, despite his low army count, what he did was he just kited back while he left the Vikings attacking those Colossi. So Time was basically just on move command with the Colossi the entire time, since they could not get in range of those Marauders and Marines. So really nice micro by Hack, and that means he's going to be able to take the series 2-0.
Yeah, and he's continuing to go with what am I trying to say here? He's never lost to a foreigner, and that streak is still alive as he's now in the finals of TL Open number 23. He may be facing a Korean, or he may be facing a Norwegian in the form of Targa or Slayers Golden. That's going to be our series number 2 as ZVZ. And Orb, I've been watching a lot of Stefano's stream lately, and he's been playing TL Open number 26. Excuse me. He's been playing a lot of ZVZ, and I feel like he's found this style that really works really well, taking a quick third, opening Ling Bane, and he's got a good time against Mutas, so I'm really interested in the ZVZ matchup these days. I know a lot of people don't like mirrors, especially ZVZ, but I'm really feeling it these days.
Yeah, I hope Targa does bring that kind of foreigner style to the ZVZ, as we see a lot of Koreans, and I'm definitely expecting it from Golden. We see a lot of Koreans go for basically just, that kind of, I kind of call it just like a herp derp strategy where you just go, well, I'm gonna go Zergling Baneling, and after I take my expansion, I'm never gonna build another drone. I'm just gonna go pure Zergling Baneling off of like 15 drones for the entire game. And we unfortunately do see a lot of Koreans still using that style, but of course a lot of the foreigners I feel have figured out ZVZ just a little bit more. So I'm definitely hoping we're gonna see something interesting here from Targa.
Well, Targa's up against it, because we were talking about this before we were on air, that if you look at Slayer's Golden, his TLPD page, he only has ZVZ results. So, if I'm a foreign Zerg and I'm playing a Korean Zerg and I see he's only got ZVZ results, even if he's not a ZVZ specialist, those are the games he's been playing in ranked matches. That makes me a little bit scared.
Yeah, it just means, of course, especially if any of those matches are in GSL, individual matches that he would have to prepare for, especially, that means he's been working on his ZVZ very, very heavily, and that's a great point. So Targa, as I said, I had never heard of this guy before this tournament, so I don't know, maybe he'll come out here, bust out with some amazing new ZVZ style. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, guys, we're going to be moving into that next match, the semifinal number 2 match between Slayers Golden and Targa, of course. We'll be right back with that after this quick commercial break.